Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs or professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience in the entrepreneur world, and come out the other side willing to share those skills and experiences with us so that we can run our businesses more effectively. So, Daniel, thank you very much for sharing some time with me, sharing some time with the audience. Anyone that sets that time apart, it means a lot to us to bring some value to those people. So I wanted to say thank you up front because it does mean a lot.
Thank you
But
for having me. Yeah.
yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anytime that we're able to connect with people that both have the experience and the perspective that you have, it means a lot to us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your company?
Yep. So Daniel Paik, founder, CEO of CuroWork. And what we do is or our mission, I guess I'll start there, is we transform back office teams such as finance, accounting, HR, IT, indirect operations from just being a cost center to transform them into a strategic profit center. Sounds sort of crazy, but I've done it. We're doing it now. And, I think just add that the world, I think, is undervalues and underinvests in back office teams and we feel like second class citizens. I mean, I was a CFO prior to this, and even as a CFO, I felt like a second class citizen. And I think that's
Right.
because we're seen as back office cost centers, but we're just as important, and that's what we're trying to highlight with our product to help back office teams become first class citizens.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about the solution. I can relate to the problem because I think that sometimes the workers that you're describing, all the way from those C-level back office people to your HR department, that there's some turnover, you don't see very much. They kind of work behind the scenes. I can relate to that a little bit from a service perspective, because when everything is working on our side, you don't want to talk to us, and when there's a problem, it's like, oh, we should have addressed this forever ago, type of thing. So tell me a little bit about the solution. How are you changing the perception of that, like you said, from second class to first class citizens within an organization?
Right. So there are a couple of just historically accepted views of cost centers. Uh, and one of the main views is we're just cost centers. We don't help grow the business. And we're just there to keep the business alive in a sense and to support all the business functions, which is true. But the key thing that and even as a CFO, I couldn't really understand and grasp is what the heck is strategy? And how do we become strategic? What is a strategic CFO or a strategic back office? It didn't really make sense to me, even as a CFO. I'll admit freely. And as I've become an entrepreneur, it's become even more clear on what that is. And in terms of back offices, I think we'll start here, is that the number one or the primary goal of a business is to grow, right? That, that's why a business exists, is to grow. And to grow, what we call that is strategic initiatives, right? We call it strategy. And strategic initiatives become a portfolio of projects, right? And at the end of the day, businesses and business leaders want projects completed. Why? Because that's the strategy they want to execute and implement. But the problem is a lot of the projects, internal projects like implementing an ERP system or even expanding to EMEA or APAC, a lot of the work that is necessary to do that and execute on the strategy is done by back office teams, finance, accounting, legal, HR, right? And the problem is, I don't know if I'm thinking most people can resonate with it'll resonate with them is that back office teams, we're most of us are overwhelmed. We're busy. And if you ask any business leader and even maybe the back office teams, why can't you get all your projects done? Right? There's this thing about projects not getting done, they're always delayed or not even started. And the reason is back office teams are overwhelmed. They're really, really busy. And therefore, because back office teams are busy and they cannot get to projects, that means strategy is delayed. That means growth is delayed. And I don't think, at least for me, in my career, in my professional career, I couldn't link that together. I couldn't understand it properly until much later in my career. And my question was, why, number one, is back office called the cost center and second-class citizens? Well, the real answer is we're putting our time into cost generating activities like payroll, reports, etc., and not enough time on projects and growth generating activities when they're all sitting there, right? And so what we're trying to do with CuroWork, or what we are doing now, is helping people understand, number one, the problem, uh, that there is even a solution. People don't think there's a solution actually when I talk to a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
They first aren't clear about the problem, that strategy is not just front office, sales, marketing, customer service operations, etc., but it also includes back office. But the question is, how does it include back office? Well, we have to complete projects, the strategic projects that are in place. And we cannot give ourselves excuses anymore that we don't have time, right? Right when I say that, I know a lot of people listening maybe may think, well, I don't have time. So that is the exact thing that we're solving for. So I know I've been talking a lot here, but I'll say one thing is that business leaders, their primary goal is projects. We've covered that. Well, back office teams, their primary goal is not projects. Their primary goal is recurring work, the business continuity aspect of the work, right? I can't say, hey, Bailey, so busy today, can't do payroll. You're gonna say, no, no, whatever you do this week, you better get payroll done. So the number
Right.
one, the most important thing that we have to do in back office is our business continuity recurring work tasks, right? The second priority is not even projects. It's actually the fires that we have to put out every day. All the
Right.
ad hoc, last minute things, supporting functions that we have to do. And so the last priority for us is projects. And therefore there is a rub. There is a misalignment in priorities where business wants growth projects. Well, back office, they're just focused on recurring work and putting out fires, and projects is the last thing on their mind, right? And so the world is really good at managing projects and tasks, right? I asked ChatGPT the other day, how many task management, project management tools are there in the world? It said there's over 1,000, right?
Wow.
Current day today. So it cannot be to improve ourselves or get us out of this cost center mindset. It cannot be to add another task management or project management software, right? Tasks are endless, they're infinite. It's impossible to prioritize something that's infinite. So what we do is we're saying that's important, but actually before you manage tasks, the most important thing you have to manage is time. Time is finite. It's a forcing function to actually prioritize within the finite time that you have. Not sure if that
Yeah.
does that make sense?
No, yeah, it makes sense, and it's unrecoverable, right? Like
Exactly.
I can put this into from my wife's company and my own company. I can put this into a real world example, right? My wife is an accountant for a like a huge tidal pond company. They own car lots. They're in the process of switching from Intact to QuickBooks, right? They're
We're going
changing accounting
backwards. Are
software.
they? It's not QuickBooks to Intact. It's the Office.
Oh no, maybe it's the other way
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
Yes, that'll show you what I know about accounting or care to know about accounting. Maybe it's the other way around, away from QuickBooks. I think you're correct.
yeah.
So the day to day, my wife's very very good at her job. She understands numbers and she's incredibly task oriented. She is the reminders, she is the organizing color coded calendar. She is your deadline is not my deadline. I'm going to be done a couple of days early because I know things happen. Very, very good at her job. When she's put in this project role, there's not enough data previous to her responsibility for her to understand what ways she can effectively handle that project. It's just, hey, here is the 30,000 foot view of what our goal is. Figure out how to migrate us between these two accounting systems, right? And so she's finding that, this 10 or 14 day or month or however long they've estimated for this project is grossly misunderestimated for exactly the reasons that you said, because she's one, doing her tasks, because that is the thing that can get her feet held to the fire by management, right?
Right.
Two, she puts out fires, she's helping other people, and you understand the beginning of the year is that we're getting into the year numbers for last year. We're giving that to our CPA. We're in the middle of putting together a very complete tax package so that we can minimize our tax liability, right? So it falls, tertiary, and the tree is the migration between these two systems. So it looks like it's going to take them 3 months,
Right.
right? Same exact, the pretty much exact same scenario within my own company is that the customer service people and technology people behind the scenes in my office spend so much time on an individual basis taking care of merchants that any migration between two systems, any rolling out of new technology, any training or increase of knowledge base that we need to be able to take care of people effectively as we roll out new systems comes tertiary, right? So, well, now we're learning as we're fixing, we're asking as we're telling, we're doing all of these things that makes those tasks aggregate into longer periods of time because we weren't able to train ourselves or handle these projects previous to there. So, tell me this, what is the band-aid, right? You said it yourself that there's thousands of task management tools, or at least more than 1,000 pieces of technology built to help you organize and understand how to bite these things off. But beyond a change in principle mindset, what is the interaction between an organization and CuroWorks in order to overcome, what the perception is between, task management and project completion?
Right. That was a great question. And it's a simple answer. It might take a little bit of time to explain it, but and it's simple to do, except that it's like there's there's two people to blame. It's everybody else outside of back office to blame, and we ourselves are to blame as well. We don't understand at the end of the day what back office does. No one really knows what we do. We kind of know your wife, your accountant, she does month-end close, she does, financial
Yeah,
packages,
some
reporting, etc.
reconciliation, a bank
Right,
statement in a folder. Yeah,
right.
but no, you're correct.
And then what does she do every day? Where does she spend her time? What are the trends of this ad hoc work or fires? Who is it coming from? Like, so at the end of the day, how I explain it is this: the back office is the only function in the entire business that doesn't have a measure of success.
That is true.
Every other function does sales, operations, customer service, sales. You have to call they have BANT and they have all of these methodologies. Operational excellence has tons of methodologies. Back office, literally zero.
Right.
We borrow from like project management and operational excellence. We don't have our own. So since we don't have a measure of success, we can never improve ourselves, or it's very difficult, right? So Peter F. Drucker, the father of modern management, if you've never read his books, everybody should read at least some of them. Amazing. He has a quote, and he's misquoted a lot, but his quote is this: if you cannot measure, or if you can't measure, you can't improve. So since back office doesn't have a measure of success, we're not measuring what we do, we can never improve ourselves. So now the question is, what is the measure of success for back office,
Right.
right? So I'll give you a little story. It'll make more sense of why we're doing what we're doing. Is I work for a company called CCI, Competitive Capabilities International, based out in South Africa. Amazing company, amazing people. And what they did, they sold operational excellence to huge manufacturing companies like Heinz, DuPont, Kellogg's, Land O'Lakes, Diageo, who makes Guinness beer. Um, and I was there for about a little over 12 years. And first 7 years of my career there, we were growing, it was like a startup kind of mode, and I was very, very busy. And in 2014, after 7 years, I was using Asana, the project management task management system, and I had over 1,000 tasks. And there were active tasks that I needed to do. Over 1,000, I think it was like 1,011 or something. And I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, Glenn, if you don't give me any more work from right now on, I will have at least 5 years of work to do. This is impossible. And he chuckled and said, Daniel, we have operational excellence experts. We have 200 more than 200 people. Why don't you ask your good colleague Mary? And I was like, I was so busy I couldn't even think about that. So I went to Mary, who's amazing. She's been in, corporate for I think 15 years and 30 years in consulting and manufacturing. And I went to Mary and said, Hey Mary, how do we do what we do for Heinz, Kellogg's, all these huge Fortune 500 companies? How do you for to help streamline, standardize, make more efficient, improve? How do we do that for back office? And her answer was, Daniel, in 30 years of my career doing this, I've never had been asked this question. And I was like, well, that's not a good start. And she said, I know most of the methodologies are, if not all, in the world, and there's nothing specific for back office. And then the last thing she said was, Daniel, you're a smart guy. You like tech. You should build it. I'll come work for you. And I was like, what? Like I'm asking you for help. You're telling me to build it, and here I am 10 years later building it. But the question I had after that conversation was this: the clients that we had, they all created a widget, right? Like a Heinz ketchup packet or a Diageo Guinness beer. And they had this product or widget and they worked backwards to see all of the inputs, the factories needed, the resources needed, raw materials, etc. And they created a process and streamlined it, standardized it to make it more efficient, to make the product more better quality, cheaper, and etc. So my question to myself was, if I knew what the widget was for back office, I think I could create some sort of methodology to
Sure.
govern ourselves, to measure ourselves, since we don't have a measure. And so the question is, what is the measure for back office, right? For 6 years, 7 years, I was asking that question to VPs of huge companies, and they were like, Daniel, you're not a manufacturing company, you're a back office. You don't have a widget. What are you talking about? And so 6 years later, somebody quit on my team. And what did I say? Like we always say, since we don't know what they do, what do we ask? We always say, hey, write down everything you do before you leave. Right? And we say that every single time when somebody leaves. And right then and there, I realized what the widget was for back office. The widget for back office is our job description. We
Hmm.
manufacture it, we create it every single day, week, quarter, or month, quarter, year, right? Accountants, we do month and close every month. We do reporting every month. We do payroll every 2 weeks. We do taxes every year. So the recurring work portion, we manufacture, we complete it, we make it every single time, and that's measurable because it's
Hmm.
recurring. So once we understand the recurring aspect of our job, so we measure it by time. So every
Right.
accountant, even in the same company, most of them have different tasks and jobs and responsibilities. So we measure their time. Where are you spending your time? What is the things that you have to do for business continuity, for the business to stay alive, status quo as of today, that has to be done? Let's measure that and see how much time or utilization that you're spending. So when you look at like an accountant, most of our accountants that we do this with, when we do the assessment, they're at minimum 80% utilized. Some of them are 120, 130% utilized just on their recurring work.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder they can never get to projects. You just don't have time. So it was a long-winded answer, but I'll get to the answer is this. Once you have utilization of the recurring work, the flip side of utilization is free capacity. And with
Right.
free capacity, that free capacity is what we're supposed to use for strategic projects, growth projects, right? But the question is, well, how come we can never get to them? It's because there's a second type of work. There's recurring in the first one. There's a third one called projects, but the middle one, like I said, firefighting, ad hoc work. So 30 to 60% of our entire year for back office teams are spent on this ad hoc firefighting support work that may or may not be important. So there, if you look at a back office person, the first two types of work, recurring and ad hoc, not even putting in projects, they're anywhere from 120 to 140% utilized. And we're telling them, you got to do all these projects, which they can never get to unless someone is so urgent, they drop everything that they're doing here and everything falls and is in disarray to get this project
Right.
done. Now they get yelled at for not getting this part done when you don't have enough time. So it's
Yeah.
all about time
They
management.
missed the memo about the cloning machine. I'm
Exactly.
sorry, there's not two
Exactly.
of me.
Yep. And so to put it all together is once the, in my opinion, the problem with today's technology or tools, not even technology, it's we don't have a methodology, right?
Hmm.
So if you look at Asana or like even like a Flowcast is more specific in um, month and close, etc. We're only measuring or we're only taking parts and pieces of your job, right? I had a CFO I was talking to said, Daniel, I do this. I do this on Notion. And he goes, let me show you. And he was like, see, I have the tasks here. I have about the time here, the person that's supposed to do it, and the date that it's due. And he stops and he goes, you know what? I keep moving out this date. This hasn't been done for over a year. I was like,
Yeah.
that's what we fixed. The problem is we're managing only 5%, maybe at best 10% of our jobs or our priorities. And we're forgetting the 90% plus of the things that we actually do every single day. And therefore, we can never get to those priorities. So we flip the script from what everybody else is doing. We say, you can't get to priorities, right? Until you manage your recurring and ad hoc, or which is actually the real priorities. Our real priorities are number one, number two is recurring and ad hoc. Once you understand what that is, look at the trends, see if what you're doing is the right things. You mitigate the recurring by automation or elimination of things that you realize. I have tons of people that do reports and realize my half these reports no one even looks at. We've been doing this for 5 years.
Right.
We spent all this time. Let's eliminate that. Oh, we just saved 10 hours a week. And then ad hoc work, you look at the trends of where it's coming from. So if 25% of your ad hoc work is, let's say, coming from the CEO, you should question that. It might be good, but a lot of times it's not. And the CEO doesn't even know that he's taking 25% of your time. And many times you find out the CEO goes, I don't even need that. Go, I want you to actually get that project done. I'll stop giving you this stuff. But without visibility into the fullness or true work, the true workload visibility into the fullness of your work, it's nearly impossible to actually understand where you're spending your time, and therefore you don't spend the time wisely. And we waste a lot of time and never get to the most important work to grow the company projects.
Absolutely. No, I can relate to that. I think that there's some symmetry for salespeople, right? I think at this time of year, people are going, what makes my most productive salespeople, and what makes my least productive salespeople.
Mm.
And just running the numbers internally, it turns out like it doesn't necessarily correlate to revenue because the longer that you're in my industry, you tend to begin to like learn to hunt whales, right? You learn who your ideal client is that generates a lot of revenue for you. So this person's 20 deals and this person's 20 deals may not equal one another, but um, for the most part, young sales reps always produce more from a deal count than reps that have been here for 10 years. The reason being because you have so much more free time that you're not servicing an existing book of business versus someone that has clients that have been with them for 8, 9, 10 years,
Right.
right? So there's some symmetry there logically that I can relate to. That'll be a forever fight for salespeople in those industries. But how have you identified who what type of organization best fits the mold for your solution? Because I can see it from both perspectives where it may be a bigger problem for a larger organization and there may be more places that you can identify both overutilization and how much capacity there is for free time. But if there's one, two, three people and a handful of pieces of technology that make up your back office, overutilization seems it could be more detrimental to your bottom line to a smaller organization. So how do you identify that right use case for yourself for your product?
Yeah. Currently, our kind of ICP or the companies that we are
Mm,
talking to are mid to large businesses.
mm,
Since we're still in startup mode, we don't have SOC 2, so enterprise businesses or public companies, they want SOC 2, et cetera. But larger companies will get much more value in what we're doing because you're now understanding thousands of, tens of, maybe hundreds of thousands of hours. And if you had 100,000 hours, right? and you could free up 40% of that
Yeah.
to do projects. How much faster can your company grow?
Right.
Right. The reason why I actually quit what I was doing, I did a proof of concept, and we were able to get this team, these back office teams, to do 900% more projects in
Wow.
a given year than any other year before that.
Right.
Right. 9 years of projects in 1 year. Their revenues grew from a 9% year-on-year growth to 23% that year. That's like I think it's like 158% increase, right?
Yeah.
Their EBITDA margins grew 5% percentage points from a 17% margin to like a 22-23% margin. And that was all due to back office. Why? And people, this is the main question. I get asked by CFOs, and I understand it. Is I didn't even know what a strategic. How do I become a strategic CFO? What is a strategic project? How do I help grow the business? Well, it's actually very simple. So what is a project? So a project is anything, or what is strategy? Let's start there. Strategy is, in my opinion, anything that's new. Anything that's new and contributes to growth. That means that's the definition of a project. A project is not recurring, it's something new. That's why it's
Right.
a project. And it's supposed to sustainably fix something, it's supposed to be innovative, or it's supposed to add to growth. So therefore, in my opinion, almost all projects at a company, if not all of them, are strategic. So if you're implementing an ERP system, it's strategic. Why? You're making things more efficient, more robust, better reporting. You can help growth, right? You revamp your contract management system to free up sales time to figure out where your contracts are. Well, that's growth. You're freeing up time. They can do more sales because they're spending less time trying to find things, right? So
Right.
these are all growth projects. Now, back office I have seen customers with 60 plus projects in their project hopper, and they tell me, that's been there for 10 years. Well, how much faster would you have grown if you got all 60 cleared out, right? And you can make millions just by back office people getting more projects done. And so it applies to everyone in terms of
Yeah.
size
But
of
there has to
business.
be large enough numbers for you to understand the data to be able to apply some logic that makes sense
Right.
percentage wise. No, that makes sense to me, and that's what I kind of thought that your answer would be. But for the people listening as well, because those people are here as well. Don't get me wrong. For the people listening, the logic still applies to you. I think that's very very important. Is that you may not have the need for the robust technology, but the logic applies to you, right? The overutilization and the project hopper continuously being the full project hopper that isn't allow you to make changes that align with growth or scale in your business are limiting your capacity to grow. And we're talking on January 8th, and I know that you have assessed the depth of your project hopper in the last 45 days,
Right.
right? And you've probably pinpointed exactly the ones that you believe uh, most closely align with the change in your bottom line, right? You've probably applied some logic to that question that you've asked yourself, and really this logic flows into the same place, right? If you're overutilized and because you're putting out fires and you're doing your daily recurring work, you're not able to apply energy to those projects, you're not going to see changes. And I think everyone and we've talked about this a little bit before as well within the last couple of days, as there's kind of two types of goals in my mind. There's like the work harder goals, and then there's the strategy goals,
Mhm.
right? Like no one can put a band-aid on you if you work 20 hours a week next year or last year and you need to work 40 hours a week this year, right? Or you had a baby last year, right? Like I did. I promise I was not able to work with the same level of precision and attention as I did the years previous because of the amount of responsibility that took me away from my office from time to
Right.
time. You know what I mean? There's real life examples to why that is, but these are still really really good questions that you need to be asking yourself, because if you know things that are going to change the shape and trajectory of your business, and you're having to put those things off because of day-to-day work, and you're putting out fires, you probably need to take a look at some of the exact same logic that we've discussed on the podcast and apply it to yourself. There's really some things to be said for, like you hear things all the time, the spending time on your business instead of in your business, and all those anecdotes. Like, to throw the colloquialisms out the window. Like, you need to make changes to scale and grow. you,
Right.
you need to add people, you need to add fuel to the fire, and you can't do that without understanding some level of measure of excess of the things that hold your business up above flood level. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, that makes a ton of sense to me, because a lot of times as salespeople, our performance is um not indicative of, but akin to the effectiveness of which your back office operates. So I can relate to that as well, and I understand exactly why that use case makes the most sense. I mean, you apply large numbers to these things, and the person that is sitting here listening to this podcast, that can draw some parallels between their 40 hours of week at work, or 50 hours, or whatever that is, and say, oh, this applies to me. Apply that to 100 people at the same time.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense to me. So what's been difficult? Has it been the technology? Has it been finding the clients? Has it been the ability to articulate the problem to people in a way that they can understand? Or
The difficulty is it's a problem hidden in plain sight for decades, if not
right,
longer. And it's an accepted problem. We know that there's something wrong, but we don't really know what it is until it's presented in this way. So the biggest struggle is getting the word out to help people really understand why we're called cost centers and why we shouldn't be called cost centers, because we're actually value centers, or we
right,
actually we're even strategic profit centers, right? And so, but the question, no one really knows how to do that currently because we lack a measure of success. And once the customers that we have, they realize what we are offering. They have told me, now that we've used this for 3 months, I cannot believe that we were working this other way. It's
right.
like, I can't, this is the other way is so backwards. Uh,
Yeah,
and we don't do that with anything else, right? We always measure, why are we doing something? How do we improve, right? But in back office, we don't even talk about improvement. I'll tell you another quick story. I was in a meeting one time with executives, and the CEO was saying, "Hey, sales, how do we improve your team? Operations, how do we improve you guys? Customer service, etc." And then they came to me and they said, "Hey, Daniel, how do we mitigate your team?" And at that time, I didn't even think twice. I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's try to cost cut." But why is it that when we talk about back office, we want to mitigate rather than improve? There's something
right.
wrong because no one can actually pinpoint what we should be doing, what the measure is, what our metrics are. But so the hard part right now is getting the word out, and that's what
Yeah.
it's
And
all about.
describing to people, it's not a necessary evil, it's a tool.
Yes,
It's a
exactly.
tool, and you see it at the enterprise level, especially in like the marketing to hire, that this HR team or this people or this is, you as an employee that's coming into our organization, these are the people that have your back. And then to, in the same breath, say, how do we make sure this doesn't cost us too much, or how do we mitigate turnover, mitigate risk, or mitigate excessive costs, or anything like that? How do we mitigate, free time, capacity to have free time, like that. I think that it's a genuine paradigm shift, and something that you're going to continue facing, is that you're going to have to explain to people that, hey, this isn't it isn't insurance that you never use. You know what I mean? It isn't something that's just burning a hole in your pocket. It's an integral part of who you are as a company, that directly aligns with your mission statement because of how you want to treat your customers. And it's not just getting the most out of those people, it's giving those people a process and a logic that they can apply that allow them to make the most impact at your company.
You
And
literally hit
again,
an amazing point. Yes.
my generation, um people love to look at our generation and say negative things, right? Lazy or quiet quitters or whatever. I've maintained this response, and some of the most effective business owners that I know can agree with me that my generation wants to feel like we make an impact, right? We want to feel valued. We want to not be the people that autopilot a piece of technology, or not be the people that you can replace with AI in a handful of years. We want you to outline something for us that we feel makes a difference and is adding to us as people as we go through our professional journey, so that we can take those skills onward with us. And a lack of clarity of next steps and a lack of clarity on impact creates more turnover than any foundational issue you may have with our generation, right? If you're not able to articulate to people, here's your job, here's what it means to me when you do it well, and here is what you're going to gain from this as a person, you're going to have turnover issues. And I think at a super high level, this applies to that foundational problem as well.
100%. And that's why I said you hit the nail on the head as well, is that when I talk about strategy and projects, and say that growth is the most important thing for a company, it's not just growth for the company, right? We have in HR all of these methodologies to help professionally develop people, right? SMART goals and
Right.
is it 9 box or whatever it may be.
Yeah, yeah.
And do they really work? It's maybe, but it's
People work.
very subjective to know if it, is getting on an Excel class really gonna move your,
Yeah, exactly.
needle, right?
Yes, it's
To
completely
me,
subjective.
right, to me, professional development is wrapped up 100% in projects. Why? Projects are new. That means you have to learn something, right? You
Yep.
learn, you grow. You have to collaborate with people, right? You have to articulate the plan. You have to deal with the issues that come with new things and problem solve. So everything that we want people to be, right, professional development wise, is encapsulated perfectly in a project. So we should be having more people doing more projects if we want to upskill our people, have them happier, have them more satisfied at work, right? Engaged. It's really projects. So it actually kills two birds with one stone: growth in
Yep.
people, growth in companies.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love what you're saying. I really look forward to seeing how your company continues to mature. And if there's anyone in my network that I can connect you with, or any value that I can be, please feel free to lean on me, because I think what you're doing is asking the right questions. And as we know from history, people that ask really, really good questions and find innovative responses to those things are genuinely very, very successful people, because they're spending a lot of time and effort and energy in the right place. So I'm excited for you. Is there anyone that myself, or maybe someone that is watching, like what are the types of companies that maybe we can make an introduction for, or maybe someone within a certain role at a certain company? Like what is it that we can look out for good introductions for use, that are good introductions for you, that may be a good use case?
Well, I remember appreciate all of that and the offer and for this platform where I can
Yeah,
even speak
anytime, my
that.
friend.
I just want to go back a little bit, and we are looking for larger clients, but it's actually for everyone. So we have a team of four. When we dog food it, we use it. I would say that our teams, my team, even internally, we're probably about 200% more productive on average than any other team that doesn't use us, because we know where we're putting our time. So it's not just for large companies, it's actually for smaller companies as well. Except that what I find is smaller companies are so busy, they don't have time to do it, but it's like a catch 22. It's like I'm so busy I need it, but I'm so busy I can't do it. So
Sure.
so I think we work with startups as well. But the main people that we talk to currently, since I was a CFO, I talk to CFOs, VPs of finance, HR leaders, and ops leaders to a certain degree that have a huge indirect operation side to it, more the
Sure.
cost side of operations. So anyone like that, um, we're happy to talk to and happy to help in any way, whether you use our software or not. Um, yeah, reach out.
I have an introduction for you. Don't let me forget as we finish. Good friend of mine that I think really can kick some doors open for you. He's been in that CFO space, cost projection. He's got some like proprietary cost projection software that he's built himself. And now he goes through basically like this cohort thing. They start with strategy, they end with finance, they live everywhere in between. I would rival you back
Hmm.
office has never exited his mouth in one of those initiatives, and he has all the connections in the world for people that are asking the right questions. They're just leaving out a part. You know that all. I mean,
Right.
I've never thought of. I never thought of it this way until you explained the problem with me the same way. So I can't even fault for people for that. Or if I do, I fall in the same category at least. So,
I was in that same exact category until
sure.
recently, right? So, yeah.
Sure. No, yeah, I completely understand. So I have an introduction to make for you. And I guess the last thing that I have is where do people find you? If they want to look for your software, if they want to search you on the internet, how do they go find you?
Yeah, CuroWork.com, CuroWork.com, or you can LinkedIn me, Daniel Pack, last name P as in Peter, AIK. Yeah, those are the two main places. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Again, like we want to spread the word. Our main mission is to elevate back office teams. We we need to be at the same level as everyone else, right, in this
Absolutely.
world, and we can be, and we should be. So,
Sure.
thank you so
No,
much.
I can relate to that. Well, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about having made an introduction to you and introducing you to my friend. His name's John. He's awesome. I can't say enough good things about him. But if there's anything else that you need from me, please let me know. We'll begin working on the back end production of this, and we'll have it out in probably a couple of weeks. We have a little bit of a backlog right now because we stopped putting stuff out when I got super sick. So
Right.
once we get it out, I'll get it to you. And
Oh,
anything that you
perfect.
need, thumbnail, clip, full video file, you're more than welcome to use any of this. We
Oh,
want to give you all the ammo you can to spread the word because like I said, it is always very interesting to me people that are asking the right questions and thinking, what is this solution that makes sense and fits in multiple places. So I look forward to watching this journey and hopefully being a small piece of you guys continuing to move forward.
oh, no, thank you so much for your time for this podcast and helping us spread the word as well. And so any way we can help, let us know. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
anytime, my friend.
congrats on your baby last year, and hope you get
Thank you.
as well.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, for everyone listening, burn the ship. If there's anything that we can do for you guys as well, our company is deeply rooted in bringing value to people that are on their entrepreneur journey. And January is a really, really good time to connect with people that are super on fire about their business. So please share this episode with someone that you think this kind of fits the bill for, lives in that same world. And just continue to tune in. We're going to work really hard this year to bring you guys some stuff that's very relevant to you and your journey. And we'll be back soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much.